Last time in Genesis.
I don't know.
All right. So we're back in the New Year's. Happy New Year's, everyone. And when we left off in Genesis, we saw Adam fumble, then Cain, being his son, followed in his footsteps, and then we get some genealogy. Um, we know from Cain's line we get polygamy and more murder, right? Double homicide. And in the next chapter, we see another one of Adam's sons, Seth, and it goes into his genealogy. I'm not really going to go into too much detail on the genealogies because they're just a lot. But I will say that if you're reading one, you should be reading like on your own. That you shouldn't skip them because when you read more and more of the genealogies, you start to see patterns emerge and things to stick out. But for this video, it's mainly just about Noah. So we go briefly between Adam to Noah. So in Genesis 6:4, we start off with the Nephilim, right? The Nephilim and the daughters of men. I'm gonna just say outright, when it comes to the Nephilim, there's a lot of like theories and speculation about them, and like where they fallen gods, where they actually like the gods, like Zeus and them, where they fallen angels, wherever they giants, all this stuff. And there's a bunch of theories about them, but for the purposes of this video, I'm not gonna go into all of that. All we really know from the Bible itself is that these people uh, were mighty men, right? So they are warriors, sometimes violent, and that we see the Nephilim appear again in Numbers when they're talking about, I believe it's the Canaanites, who are living in the Promised Land, and they're also like big people, scary people, right? And Israel was like, yeah, these guys, they're built different. If we fight them, we're gonna lose. So that's all we really know. They're special people in that sense. And God sees that they're doing evil on the earth, so he starts to reduce the years of man, right? Because prior to this, people were living for crazy amounts of time, but God's like, yeah, these guys are uh, doing too much wicked stuff, so I gotta get them out of there. And even after that, though, he's like, yeah, he sees that there's too much evil on the earth and they only think about doing evil. So he's like, I'm gonna blot the man who I created off the earth, because he regret making them. But Noah ends up finding favor in God's eyes. This is just a quick sidebar, but I find it interesting when the genealogies end. Noah is 500, and we see that he's the father of three. And then when the flood starts, he's 600. So I don't know if it took him 100 years to build um, the ark. It could be less than that technically. It could have been 10, but it's just an interesting sidebar. So Noah gets on the ark with his family, and God makes it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, and all the humans and animals end up dying outside of the ark, right? And the water was on the earth for 150 days. This is something that I didn't really remember reading through. I kind of just thought like, okay, he flooded the earth, and then they just got off. But they was chilling in that boat for a little bit, and after the water starts to recede for a bit, and he starts sending out like birds to see if it's good to go out. And this happens a couple times until eventually he sends a bird out and it doesn't return. Um, and after that, we get God talking to Noah, and he says, "Look, go out the ark with you and your sons, and take all the animals out with you, that you guys may be fruitful and multiply." So we get the fruitful and multiply um, commission essentially again with Noah, and then Noah makes a covenant with, or God makes a covenant with Noah rather, saying, "I will never like do this again. Um, I will never curse the ground." Because a man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and I will never strike down every living thing as I've done. So, the flood kind of shows us God's answer to evil. Uh, there's the answer to kill all the evildoers, right? Which is what he did in the flood, and he said he's not going to do it like this again. And then we'll see later on in Jesus, the other way to deal with the problem of evil is to redeem evildoers, right? To change their hearts, to change their because we see God says the intent of man's heart is evil from youth. And what does Jesus do? What does the Holy Spirit do? It changes man's heart, right? And then we get the rainbow as a sign of this promise. So entering Genesis 9, God tells Noah, hey, no more murdering, right? I flooded the earth because you guys are being evil. And here essentially God gives the death penalty where he says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed, for in the image of God he made man. So he says, look, no more murdering. That's what I flooded the earth over, among other things. And also be fruitful and multiply. And humans do one of those things. Spoiler alert, we're still murdering today. And we get the covenant, the rainbow. I'm not gonna flood the world again. And then here's where we get to the weird stuff, where a father gets drunk, and while he's drunk, his kid does something weird to him. And this isn't the only instance in Genesis that this happens, but it's the first one. So after the flood, Noah gets drunk because he plants a vineyard, and he gets drunk and then he gets naked. And one of his sons, Ham, sees him naked, and he tells his brothers about it. And his brothers are like, ah, okay. So they cover his dad, because he was shamefully naked, like maybe spread eagle. I don't know. I don't really want to imagine 700-year-old Noah naked spread eagle or whatever, but whatever. So Noah gets up and he knows that his son told the other people. I don't really know. Like, I guess he just had a supernatural feeling. Like, maybe Ham has been doing the type of stuff, whatever, but he knew what happened. So then he curses Canaan, Ham's son. It says, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brothers." And he basically says that his other sons will be, their children will be served by Canaan. So it's kind of funny. Canaan, like he didn't do anything, but I guess he just got caught in the crossfire, right? Ham, and I see this as like legacy. Like Ham's legacy is Canaan. So by cursing Ham, he's cursing Canaan. But whatever. I think this was on Noah's bad too. Like, yeah, Ham shouldn't have done what he did, but nobody told you to get drunk and naked. But yeah, that's how the chapter ends, right? A father, and this is the last time we see a father cursing his sons either. These fathers in the Bible are kind of funny sometimes. Like, bless one son, curse the others. We'll see this in a couple chapters with Jacob and all those sons. But yeah, that's Genesis until 9 essentially. There's 10, which goes more genealogy, and like I said, I'm not really here for all the genealogies and stuff. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Next time we will be going over Abram in the Tower of Babel. But yeah, God bless. Next time in Genesis.
Huh? Huh?